The name is X the Villain from Oluwamuyiwa Art. I'm a sculptor, visual and performance artist, and filmmaker, and I'm here at Square Root Studio for a live painting and exclusive interview. So let's jump right to it. So my style of art is New Expressionism. I draw my inspiration from Basquiat a lot because for me he's one of the most influential modern artists. And this live painting has to do with folklore, um, storytelling, nostalgia. As a kid, we used to sit under the moonlight and we used to listen to our granny tell us stories. So sometimes I prepare my art, like I make sketches so I know the direction I'm gonna go. And sometimes I just jump right onto the canvas. I know you might be wondering, why am I bandaged up? So uh, I draw my inspiration from Egyptian traditions because X the Villain is the champion of Anubis, and Anubis is the Egyptian god of the dead. He's in charge of mummification. So let's go to colors. So my artistic journey, I think it started when I was a kid though. I wanted to study fine art, but my mom disagreed. So I did the closest thing to fine arts in engineering, which is mechanical engineering. But when I was done with school and I was working in a telecoms company, I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't enjoying my time. So I decided to quit in 2021 and decided to pursue an artistic career. So starting my artistic career, painting was like the foundation work, the easiest thing to start with, because I actually drew my passion from like making sculptures, whether wood, clay. That's like my first love. But painting was like easy to get by, so I started with painting. I can remember my grandma. My grandma is a very big influence for I would say my artistic journey, because I remember spending some time with her immediately after my undergraduate studies. And we used to, like, late at night, she used to tell me some tales. Most were fiction though, but it was enlightening, and I'll call it wisdom filled, because you get to learn one or two from these stories. Draft, that's what we all call it, draft, was like the common game we used to play growing up. Ayo Lokmo, I tried learning that game, but each time I make a blunder. But my favorite kind of game, it wasn't really a childhood game, chess. Because I suck at Ayo Lokmo, I decided to learn chess. So that's like the game I could say I play. Thinking about folklore and those games, they shaped my storytelling in painting and sculptures, because I learned wood sculpture through making a board game. Like that was the first time I would carved, and it was because I wanted to make a board game chess. So I think storytelling, it helped with storytelling. Man, Ijapa is like the common guy, you know. There's so many stories of Ijapa, and okay, Ijapa is tortoise in English for those that don't know. You know, there's so many stories about that guy because one is cunning, two is slow, three. At every story that I can remember, he always ends up being the loser. Most stories I remember about him, he always because of his deception, I guess. But those stories helped in making us understand that morals morals matter because Ijapa lacks morals. You know, like Ijapa is out for himself. So that stuck with me. That stuck with me. There's the rabbit, which is Ijapa's close companion. There's elephant. You know, there's even Anansi the spider. So the thing with Anansi the spider is, uh, most Ghanaians feel it's originated from Ghana, but it's still African though, irrespective of where it originates from. Africa is Africa, so we can still tap into the spider story. I didn't really buy into announcing the spider, and this is the reason why. Growing up as a Yoruba man, there's this superstition that spider webs are like portals to the supernatural. You know, they are like growing up. We used to believe that spider webs must not even be in your apartment. When you see it, you have to like get rid of it. So that I think that stuck with me growing up because there are so many things that subconsciously you don't know, but due to your childhood, your bringing, it sticks to you. I think that relates into announcing the spider. You know, I right now I'm still wary of spider webs when I see it around me. So today I'm working with acrylic, and the reason why is it's fast drying. It allows me to like build up layers because the style of art I make, neo expressionism, every stroke is art, you know. So I need a medium that can dry, and when I make, because some people feel there's mistake in art, but there's no mistake. Like see the splash now, it's gonna be part of the storytelling, and that's because it's acrylic, you know. It's very friendly. So my technique, due to this series that I'm working on, which is part of my Eulogy of Basquiat series, it goes both ways. Sometimes I prepare my preliminary sketches, you know, I want to get an idea of what I'm doing. And sometimes I just jump right into it and let it flow. Whichever direction it goes, whichever color speaks to me, I go ahead with it. Sometimes I always want to get my composition right. You know, composition matters in art, so it doesn't look off. So sketching gives me the liberty to get it right, so I don't get to paint over and over again. So the true origin story behind this max, I'm gonna give it out today. So I haven't quit my job working as an engineer in telecoms, and I wanted to start an artistic career. I was quite, I won't say shy, I would say wary of putting my face out there. You know, I didn't really want people from my past life to recognize my new career path. So I was looking for marks to like wrap up my face and no, just cover my face rather, not even wrap up my face. I was looking for any marks. If I could have laid my hand on the anonymous marks, that could have been it. But I couldn't. So I thought about the next best thing. And funny thing is, growing up, there's this movie that stuck to me. It's Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, Face Off. the Face Off has this scene where this guy has his face swapped, and I remember that scene. Stuck way back, stalked. He was on bandages, and I said, "Yeah, that's like go to. Let me just get bandages and do it." And I did it the first time, and I got the reaction I really like. The reaction blew my mind. Like people, they tend to like accept what they didn't understand. I was like, "Wow, that makes sense." I guess I'll just roll with this. And that was it. This was in 2023. Yeah, 2023. Um, I'll take cultural first. Yeah, that was the first time. 2023. Yeah, I'll take cultural first. That was the first time. They didn't know it was me. Nobody knew it was me. And even on my social media, I don't post myself. I don't post my face, so no one could have connected the dots. Oh, is this dude like so? Only close family members, people that they get to see me when I'm unmasked, then they get to understand, or they come to my studio and they see my paintings depicting me like this, then they get to figure it out. Like, oh, so you're the guy in bandages. Well, if you can't figure it out, you won't know. To me personally, it's a way to connect to my ancestry through storytelling and through tales that we grew up to listen to from the elderly ones. One thing I'm grateful for is I haven't come out with the old Marx identity. I started looking deep into it. And the funny thing is, I was able to trace back my ancestry to ancient Egypt. Now, this is the funny thing that people don't understand. You should understand that looking back at the first civilization, which is Egypt, the population was quite minimal. So people didn't spread out yet. They were all living close to the River Nile. It's over time when people started growing more population. That's when they started spreading out into other regions, exploring other lands. So I was able to like trace it back. Like my ancestors actually were Egyptians. They were Egyptians. We're talking about, when I say Egypt, we're talking about Nubia. Don't even look at this New Age Egypt that they are light skinned. No, we're talking about Nubia, the black skinned Egyptians. That's my ancestors, and this piece made it's gonna be like a story, a pointer to show that we are still our ancestors are not different from us. We're still the same. I read books a lot. That's one thing. One thing people don't understand is that books are like gateway to hidden information. And each time I study books, I'm able to like decipher hidden codes, hidden timelines, name changes. You're able to like trace it back through the genealogy, timelines, and all. Most of, let me say, the African race, most of us have forgotten so much about our past. And we are not to be blamed. Yeah, we're not to be blamed. We're not to be blamed. I'll blame colonialism because it stripped us of so many things. It stripped us of our identity. But one thing is, most folklore stories, as I said it might be fiction, but most of them carry elements of truth. Like, and that's one thing I'm grateful for. Like, spoken words, traditions, word of mouth. That's the way you can remember the past. Yeah, yeah, they are fading. Digitalization has taken the world by storm. People see traditions or ancient knowledge as archaic. as old, as not cool. People now see modernism as the new cool. I guess that's what gives birth to Gen Z ideology and all, But you can't blame them though. That's why I keep saying. Honestly, I can't blame anyone. Everyone has a choice to choose what they want to consume, though. I make digital art too, but I don't really enjoy it as much as I make traditional art. And there's a reason why. I love the smell, the feel, the colors I can see, the mistakes that you try to want to correct, you know, thinking the experience itself, Other digital artists might disagree, but that's just my own opinion. So I'm not really a fan of digital mediums and all. But I'm not against it. My signature medium is palm oil. I paint with palm oil, and when I paint with palm oil, the smell gives me that nostalgic feeling of growing up as a kid when we eat palm oil made meals, and that smell. It isn't just palm oil and yam or palm oil cooked soup. It gives me that feeling. I love it. I love it a lot. I guess that's why I decided to try painting with palm oil. Part of the reasons, though, because when I started my artistic career, I was scared of running out of art supplies because I wasn't selling back then. So I needed a medium that I would never run out of, and that was palm oil. Yeah, getting into the art, over the years, like from 2023, 2024. Now I started like I needed to like diversify. Palm oil now is like my prized piece. And when you have a prized piece like that, you make it rare. You know, make it a rare medium that you don't just throw around. That comes palm oil. That's how palm oil is for me. I do acrylic, I do watercolor, uh, oil painting. Just name the medium. I'm good to go. Natural mediums. I tried wine painting one time because there was this mentor I reached out to on through his email, and he gave me tips on how to use palm oil so it doesn't fade because I was facing that challenge. It was fading. So he works with wine. That was how we heat it up. My blending games and folklore. So that's the thing now. Remember I said something about tracing ancestry, right? So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to blend the past, which is ancient Egypt, with present Nigeria. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to use the pyramids, connecting it to the River Nile down to River Niger. And I'm going to use characters that we all grew up, the board game Ayolopon is a very common game. We're going to use that because my own Eulogy of Basquiat series, my own style has to do with attaching found objects on every painting. So it's more like an archive for future generations to come so that they can feel, not just see, they can feel it and they can understand what we did while we were here. So art for me is more like preservation. I'm starting off with ultramarine blue, and the reason why is I want to get that sense of nighttime. Most moonlight tales are told at night when the moon is kind of full and is out there. So that's why I'm starting with ultramarine blue, and I'm still going to blend in the earth tone because most moonlight tales were told outside, sitting on the earth. You know, So we're starting off night down to the earth tone, burnt sienna, and so on. I want to capture community. I want to capture morality. You know, I want us to still cherish our elderly ones because honestly, they are a wealth of knowledge, wisdom. I want us to still look back into traditions. No matter how the internet has come to stay or AI has come to change the world, we cannot forget our past. That's what I want to capture. I want to capture that game feeling where we sit down and we all like put all our differences aside and we just enjoy the nature. This is my own take. I see AI as a tool. As an artist, you can use AI as an assistant. But I don't want AI to like fully take over the art market or entertainment market or craft market because some say it doesn't have AI art doesn't have soul. I don't know about that, but I just feel it should be a tool, not just like 100% AI. As an artist, you should be able to use it. I think it was 2024, where I did my 365, 366-day challenge of performance challenge of creating art every day and posting it on the internet. I can't lie to you, that was like the most challenging year of my life. And I wouldn't be able to have pulled it off if I didn't use AI. I'm being honest here. Because there are days where I wake up and I'm like, damn, I don't want to create a damn shit today. I don't want to create anything today. I don't want to do shit. But I have to remember that I'm on a challenge and I have to do it. So I used it as my tool. So new specializing for me, my own style is more like semi-abstract. Um, it's a blend in the sense that I'm not too into realism. I just blend it a bit, like a dance between realism and abstract. Over the years, my favorite color has changed. But let's say morphed. I started from black. No, I started from blue. Went into black. But right now it's orange. There's this popular saying. They say orange is the new black. So as a dark man, I found out that when I wear orange, it kind of like calms my dark skin tone. So orange, orange has this cool effect. I don't know, maybe because it's a blend of yellow and red. Yellow is too flashy, red is too violent, but orange is just in between. It's just no. I can't find anyone that hates orange. I've never come across someone that say, "Oh, I don't like orange." I don't know. So there's this incident. This incident was like a traumatic experience for me. Back in my primary school days, I used to like draw, paint, and stock up my artwork. And during break time, I show my guys. Their minds will be blown away. Like, damn, you did this, bro. Because then I used to sell comics. I used to make comics in school. Then this girl just reported me to the teacher, and she tore my paintings. That was a traumatic experience for me. So, because that made me stop painting for a while, or stop creating arts in general for a while. So I don't think I still have access to it. Let's say 2021. Yeah, I still have those paintings. Funny thing is, I don't want to put it up I don't want to put it up on the market yet because I've learned something like true art ages with time. Like the value I appreciate. So I still have them stored away, kept safe, waiting for the right time to bring them out. So tortoise is gonna appear, and the reason why I choose tortoise is because I said tortoise has always been my favorite guy growing up. Yeah, that guy. If you were to ask me what's the personification of a loser, I would say tortoise. But the one thing I love about that loser is he never gives up. He still makes attempts each time he falls short. He's always coming back like each time. He always wants to outsmart everyone. He doesn't give up. I love that characteristic about him, not giving up. He's a crazy guy. So that's why he's going to be here. And Answer the Spider will be here too. And the reason why is sometimes we need to confront our deepest fear, our deepest phobia in order to like break free. And if I say because of superstition, I didn't I didn't look into the whole Anansi thing. I think I've come of age to put away my fear and my superstition and take it up. So that's why Anansi is gonna be here. I think it's about time. So my new expressionalism style, it combines visuals, text, hidden messages, hidden symbols. So just look out for it. Look out for in the basic symbols. Look out for that too. I'm not too big on nostalgia because everyone has everyone has different feeling when they look at. Okay, let me put it this way: when two or three people look at a piece of art, they tend to experience it differently. And for me, I rarely experience nostalgia when it comes to art. I don't know. Maybe I'm wired different, I guess. I would say it builds strength. And I'm going to use an adage, more like a parable to prove that. When you take a bunch of broomsticks, they are very difficult to break, right? When they are together. But when you pick them apart and you snap on one of them, they break easily. And that's what I feel about community. When we are bound together, it's difficult to like tear us apart. But when we stand separately, we can be taken apart easily. That's why community is important. United, we stand, divided, we fall. I think that's the message for Africa at large. You know, sometimes we all wonder why America is so great, but look at the name. The full name says United States of America. United. And that's the reason why. It's as simple as that. You don't need to look deep into any other thing. Sometimes the most simplest truth are in the simplest things. Like you don't need to think deep. Like it's so simple to understand. It's similar. There's so much similarities in the sense that these games are strategy, and strategy has to do with the mind. And Ijakpa is a very cunning guy. And when you say cunning, cunning has to do with the mind too. So sometimes when we say you need to be as cunning as Ijakpa, it means you need to be on your A game. Because Ijakpa always comes with his A game. Let's put all jokes aside. He might fall short, but he always comes with his A game. It doesn't slack, honestly. Sometimes you get greedy, you get carried away, you get distracted, but no, that guy is something else. I'm still thinking because my mom my mom used to say so many proverbs. So I'm still like looking for the thing with my heart is when I keep seeing how it develops, I keep getting interpretations, like I keep getting messages. So I'm still gonna see the message. I have a prior message, but I'm still looking for one that is gonna stick, and definitely is gonna stick. I don't ignore tradition. So the thing with me is I'm big on tradition, like I said earlier. So the only thing is I try to find a balance. And how do I find that balance? I try to interpret it from three standpoints: Egyptian tradition, Yoruba culture, and Western lifestyle. So when I met those three together, that says more about my style of art. My grandma is late, and I miss my grandma. You know, I wish she was alive to see the artist I have become. You know, sadly, I started a portraiture for her, and I wasn't able to complete it while she was alive. And that still haunts me because she didn't get to see the gift the creator blessed me with. So I feel longing is the word. Art is not even just about aesthetics. Art is about research too. And creating this kind of pieces gives me the privilege to look up and look into whatever I want to depict. So creating this kind of art has given me the chance to study more and learn more. There is, I would say, the spirit of sportsmanship. Many people don't know what that actually means. Life is not competition actually. And even if it's competitive, we should have the spirit of sportsmanship, where losing shouldn't beget envy. Because in every game, there's always a loser, there's always a winner. There's no how you can't have it. You can't eat your cake and have it. So the spirit of sportsmanship should be in everyone. If you lose, take it. That's not the end. You might win the next day. So I guess that's what this whole game is about. And the symbolism is going to be as ancient as Egypt. I'm just giving you the heads up. It's going to be weird, but I'm going to say it. The artists I look up to in Egypt are actually unknown. We don't know them, but they were so gifted to bless us their works on stone, marble. I sometimes when I look at sculptures on stone and marble or art material, my mind is like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm very sure these guys had crude tools. They don't have as modernized tools that we have today, but they could give us that kind of, I won't say perfect, let's say near perfect works. Like it's mind blowing. Take for instance the Sphinx, the pyramids of Giza. Those, like, they are mind blowing. They're mind blowing. So I don't know them, but I salute to them. One of my favorite artists is still alive. His name is Tishan Sheng. He's a performance artist, also a visual artist. But the funny thing is, I haven't, I have never seen his visual art. So Tishan Sheng works with time. Is the reason why I did my 365 366-day challenge of creating art every day. Is the reason why I did that. Is a huge inspiration for me, because me being a performance artist, he is the reason why I am. He is the reason why. And in Nigeria, I would say Sir Yinka Shonibare. You know, through reading, I was able to discover him. Through a book called Dandyism. And what I discovered about him is his resilience. Like, he didn't let challenges stop him from being the artist he is today. And those are the attributes I cherish when I look at people. I've collaborated with lots of artists though, but I learned something from collaborating with artists in Nigeria. It's sad for me to say, but most collaborations are financially driven, like in the sense that they just want to collaborate because they see a chance to like make money. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Money is needed for this game. It's needed for this, not even a game, in this whole profession. But that shouldn't be your main motivation. That should never, don't never let it be your main motivation. That's what I've noticed collaborating with some few artists, contemporaries of my own kind. Many people have, many kids of today don't know what it means to sit down and hear stories, from elderly ones. But this doing this project, when Square Root Studio reached out to me to do this project, it made me understand that there are still certain people that value folklore, value the stories, the morals, the tales, the advice that this event, this culture, this cultural setting instills in us. And that gave me the sense. That's why I'm answering it both ways. That yeah, some people still value it, some people still see the potential in it, in shaping our culture of today. You know, since I keep drawing so much references from Egyptian and traditions, I give myself the task of trying to understand the hieroglyphs. And one thing I learned is that you cannot translate it the same way you translate our normal official language, English, or our mother tongue. These symbols have pictorial meanings. Some of them do have literal meanings too, and that made me understand that even in CBDs too have those they have so much similarities. Now, if you understand that both have so much similarities, you understand that one should be like the parent language and the other should be like a secondary. Like when you dilute something, you're diluting something with water. Let's take for instance, you're diluting palm wine with water. The conch one is the main product itself, but the diluted one doesn't. It's not a different product. It still retains the original content, but it's just diluted. I feel CBD is like the diluted form of the hieroglyphs. It was like a mode of communication, a way of recording back in the days. Scribes used to use it. I still don't know why we Africans would choose to forget such such language of our ancestors, such writing language of our ancestors. But if this generation choose to forget, we that remember we will not forget. That's why we tend to incorporate it into our art. I wasn't exposed to CBD growing up. Um, I actually saw it briefly once. Let me be candid. But coming down here and speaking to someone here in Square Studios, it made me understand that CBD is one of Nigeria's ancient language, like writing system, like these are knowledge that are lost in time. If he didn't specify it, I might have thought it was even from another African country. Yeah, I'm going to be incorporating it into this painting. I actually specified some wisdom. And why did I pick wisdom? Because during Tales by Moonlight, wisdoms are always passed across. I'll be incorporating knowledge too, because Tales by Moonlight also contains knowledge. What else? I'll be incorporating love, because love too comes with the whole experience. I'm incorporating wisdom, which is very vital, because you do not forget the end goal of telling these tales by the moonlight is to instill wisdom into the young ones. Each time they tell the story of tortoise and his escapade, it wasn't just for fun, it's for passing a message. And I guess that's what this art is supposed to radiate. Don't forget that most of our history we actually wiped away. Like, okay, let me give you a very good instance. The burning of the Benin Kingdom Empire, the burning of, I'm very sure the Benin Kingdom during its peak must have its own library, because every civilization always has a library, just as the Egyptians had their library at Alexandria, and it was burnt too. So I feel those are what cause those are what causes the loss of this knowledge, this ancient knowledge. Honestly, it needs revival. Even though it's not going to be used by the whole masses, I feel it can be used by elites in the sense that Da Vinci used to write some hidden codes in his pieces, I mean sketches, in his works. I feel elites can use in CBD, in passing messages that they don't want to be corrupted, but to be understood by coming generations, by incorporating it in their art. Like that's like the basic way you can pass knowledge across, by incorporating it in your art, by telling a story with it, by making people become familiar with it. You know, we really need this knowledge. This knowledge shouldn't just be restricted to the internet alone. Like, because I want to understand something, I need to just turn to the internet. No, I should be able to look at paintings. I should be able to see it in books. I should be able to learn about it in pictures, photography, even in film. So, because I've noticed that people tend to People tend to grasp more. People learn to learn better rather when it comes to other mediums of art. Let's filmmaking, videography. People tend to assimilate better. I can't speak for everyone though, but the first time I discovered the CBD2 was through, I think it was through someone's painting, because the guy was so kind of him to like talk about it, and that was when I picked it for the first time too. So I've learned that art is not just aesthetics. Art is not just it looks good, yeah, yeah, no. Art should be more than that. So in terms of symbolism, it could do more good. It could pass more message. This is more like a mix, an hybrid. You know, there's this saying, they said there's nothing new under the sun. So if we are to believe that saying, it means what has been done in ancient times is still what's being done today. And I can give you a very good example. Board games like Ayo, Draft, are similar to board games in ancient Egypt. We have Senate and the rest. So it's almost similar. It's just things evolve. So this is more like a mix to show that nothing has really changed. The only thing that has changed is time, civilization. Uh, so in terms of our culture, we're talking about gathering. Let me give you another analogy. The mother hen, she used to gather her flocks under her wings, and that's like a form of protection. So when we gather around our grandma and she's telling us tales by moonlight, it's more like that same protection. Because most of the stories they tell us sticks to us and helps us in making the right decisions. I read a book. It says Zulu had the strength of like 10 men. Is that not superhuman strength? Exactly. And some attributed his strength to voodoo, you know. But irrespective of whatever you call it, it's still strength. Doctor Strange in Marvel Comics, he uses voodoo too. I don't know why Westerners just make it look super cool. Say it's sorcery. It's the same voodoo. Sadly, we have no record of their exploits. That's one thing that hurts me each time I'm in a bookstore and I'm looking for books to read. We hardly see books that put our race on par with the colonizers. Because we have less documentation of them, the heroes we look up to nowadays, I won't call them superheroes. I'll call them more like freedom fighters. Um, Take for instance, Christopher, no, what's the name? Patrice Lumbaba, Thomas Sankara. Um, who else can I mention? Um, what's his name again? So these people are who we look up to as heroes. They helped shape what we are like the freedom we have today. Some would say Nelson Mandela too. You know, the freedom we're enjoying today. We say they helped shape that. Many would agree, many would disagree. So in ancient Egypt, Osiris and Set are sworn enemies. You know, I don't know. Set just despises Osiris, and I thought about it. In the spirit of sportsmanship, what's the best way to represent two competing opponents and showcase the non-sportsmanship of one, and that's Set. Set is not someone you mess with. When people lose in the game of Ayolokpon, it really hurts. Like, cause I've witnessed my siblings when they play it and they lose, like they really take it to heart. And I feel Seth is that kind of person. When he lost the throne, because he felt he's the rightful king of Egypt, he is supposed to be on the throne. So he lacks the spirit of sportsmanship. So people see me as a masquerade. Uh, Maybe because masquerades hide their identity. Uh, but my understanding is that masquerades are more spiritual than just aesthetics. They kind of embody spirits that are indigenous to certain people. I feel that's my own understanding of masquerade. That's like not a very good experience, like experiencing masquerade because these guys are savages. They whip you if you don't offer them, if you don't appease them in terms of like monetary stuff and gifts and shit like that. But over time, I think they've become biased in the sense that they're all after money now. So it's who gives them something they will not weep and stuff like that. But it's not always a good experience, the one I witnessed. I think it's just few artists that actually portray masquerades in their art. I think I can remember, yeah, there's this artist I met one time, like maybe it's just part of a series, but it was actually painting masquerades and their different forms and all. I don't think it's a general topic. Like most people don't want to dive into stuff like that. You can't blame them. I'm the definition of a juju kalava. I think it's a popular saying among kids when they see something like scary. It has to do with marks though. Juju kalava stuff like that. I think it's fading because growing up we used to see Lagbaja. Lagbaja was one of Juju Calabar in terms of music and all. But nowadays, people want. I don't think that's why I don't think masquerades are thriving in today's society. I think they are losing their value per se. The thing is, I'm more into Egyptology. You know, my yeah than the Yoruba culture. Though I'm Yoruba, but I am going to the roots first. To really understand the future, you need to go back to the past. So it's more like a journey. Let's start from the past. Let's start from the ancient civilization that will now like bring it to the future. And maybe over my journey, maybe I will really dive into Yoruba um, traditions, folklore, storytelling. But for now, let's just stick to the past, Egyptology. I kind of have new knowledge on what my heart should, what message my heart should pass across. And speaking on influencing my art, I am going into sculptures starting 2026, like majorly into sculptures because one thing I've learned is for Egyptian art, sculptures really survived time, in terms of damage, where longevity sculptures survive because they are carved like they are stone carved, so they resist weather conditions. The only paintings that actually survived were the ones painted on walls, caves, rocks. So I kind of understood that they valued sculptures more than painting and the rest. So I picked that from them, and I think I want to dive into that more. I'll say nostalgia. And that I'm speaking for millennials, Generation X, or even the 80s, the our grandparents, like a sense of wow. I remember this kind of setting where grandma sat us down and she was telling us tales and stuff. I think nobody wants to hear a tale by moonlight now when there's Instagram and all. No one even looks at the moon nowadays. Let's put it that way. Like who has the time to stare at the moon when you're in the club dancing, or you're in your room seeing a movie? There's Netflix. I think Netflix is the new moon. Like I said earlier, I see chess as the more advanced board game. But everything stems down from ancient games, starting from Senet down to Ludo, Ludo, Ayolokmo. They're all board games. So understanding these games made me understand that board games help in terms of creating that oneness, that unity, relaxation, which is vital. These things are vital for a thriving ecosystem. I love Anubis so much because it's quite mysterious. He rarely talks. Um, there's not much known about him. We everyone knows he's the god of the dead. Is in charge of mummification. I just love. He's the aesthetic is cool though. Looking at the jackal-headed face and all, it's really cool. Anubis is cool. Like, and I feel there's more to Anubis, and I'm going to like point that out through my heart. There's this scribe who died, and in Egyptian tradition, or you can say mythology, because there's no way we can prove it yet. When you die and you find yourself in the hall of judgment, your heart is going to be weighed against the feather of truth. Now, the feather of truth is math. It's the feather of math. Now, if your heart is heavier than the feather, your heart is going to be consumed by Amit. Amit is the devourer. But if your heart is lighter than the feather, you'll be given a chance to proceed into paradise, the field of reeds. So this scribe, his heart was heavier than the feather, and he begged for a chance to go back and right his wrongs. I think he was given a chance. I think that's where the story ended because this was from the Book of the Dead. This tale I'm talking about, it was from the Book of the Dead, and tales like that were lost to time in terms of manuscript. The manuscript was kind of destroyed, so we don't know what ends the story. But I think he was given a chance, and that's the fate of Egyptians believe that that's the fate of everybody. You're going to face judgment. So in Egyptian, during their life in Egypt, it was best to live near the River Nile, because that was where most farming was done. Because that was where the fertile land was. I'm a big fan of making museum. I'm a big fan of making museum worthy works. And when I say museum worthy works, I mean works that are actually fit for museums. So if the opportunity arises, I would love to. I would say be authentic and be true to yourself. The journey is tough. I can't lie to you as an artist because you're not the only one out there trying to push yourself. So the opportunity sometimes is slim. And sometimes there's this thing called nepotism. It's crazy. It applies to the art sectors too. But if you stay true to yourself, don't worry, you're gonna survive. You persevere. I have a chance to prove myself, honestly. So we were talking about me being out there last year, 2024, right? I made my mission to put myself out there. They say opportunities can't come and find you at home, right? So I left the studio, and I was out there, but nothing happened, nothing clicked. There was nobody. I feel people don't understand what this marks really stands for. So they kind of they are wary of like giving me a chance. And all I want is just a chance to like show what I stand for. And I decided that if no one is giving me a chance, maybe I'll do it myself, no matter how long it takes. And funny thing, Square Studio reached out to me. Victor reached out to me, and I was like, okay, my work is getting the audience that it actually needs. I'm grateful, for this opportunity. I wish I could speed up the drying process so we can just unveil it immediately I'm done. But sometimes good art takes time, you know. So I'll let it do its drying course. But when we see it, these are gonna stand out. Like it's gonna really stand out. I did okay. This is the second largest painting I've worked on. I worked on a large painting like this, the first one. It took me 12 days to complete it because it had more details and it was more like a gift to a celebrity. So it took me a while. That's one thing I love about new expressionalism. You know, there's no mistake in new expressionalism. Every brushstroke, every splatter. I wish I could even splatter because splatter is paint splatter is part of my process. Because I like the effect. There are certain effects you see on a painting, new specializing painting, and you be like, a brush stroke can't do that. For the clouds, brush stroke can't do that. I had to use my fingers to get that effect, and that's what you get with new expressionalism. I've used sponge. I've used my hair. Yeah, because behind these marks, I have a long hair. I actually plait my hair. So each time I comb my hair and it's like breaks off, I pack it up and I use it to create art. I stay away from the studio. Like sometimes the studio can be like a prison, you know. You can't ideas don't flow, you get bored. I just leave that studio. Most times I try to go to the beach, you know, nature, and just try and recharge. Feed your eyes, feed your mind, and feed your soul. I run. I'm a runner. I run. Sometimes I say I run for a living because I have a running routine. I run almost every day, like I think 4 times in a week, just to stay fit and clear my head. If I say the answer to that question, some might not believe. Sometimes the colors actually speak to me. Like they tell me like, okay, this is the color that should go. It's I didn't study art. That's one thing people don't understand. I studied mechanical engineering. I didn't study art. So like I always say, it's a gift. Like it speaks to me. It tells me, okay, this is what I want from you. Like this is gonna go. I'm kind of blessed in a way that my art is not meant for everybody. That's one thing I've learned. And I'm glad it's not meant for everybody. But whoever connects with it, man, I know that person is going to take care of it. Because art for me is an extension of myself. You know, I'm putting myself in this piece. That's the way my art is. That wraps it. So let's kindly stand there so I can put the finishing touches. So this piece has so many symbols. Starting with the River Nile, which flows to River Niger, has the S shape, which is symbolic to Square Root Studios. The tortoise is very central to folklore stories growing up. Tortoise was always the main character, and the tortoise always fell short in every story. Now, this in CBD symbol is for luck. Let's say the tortoise had some luck. Maybe he would have been successful in most of his endeavors. Then we have Set playing Ayolopon with Osiris rather. Both of them are enemies. Now, the CBD on Set is strength because Set is very aggressive. You know, for him to be able to even kill Osiris, he has a lot of strength. The CBD on Osiris is protection because that's the goal of Osiris, to be protected from the evil machinations of Set. Now, this scene here talks about sportsmanship. You know, most people lack sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is very rare. You know, nobody likes to lose. You know, but you must take every loss as part of life and bounce back from it. Now, the pyramids of Egypt is very symbolic in this painting because it's more like time from the past to the present. And what do we have in the present? We have the traditional setting, you know, the traditional moonlight setting where the grandma sits down the children and she tells them story at night, you know. And on the grandma we have the CBD for wisdom. The elderly are more experienced in life. They've seen more than we young ones will claim we have seen, so she can instill wisdom to them. The CBD on this girl, while she's listening to grandma, is happiness. She is so happy to be in this midst. The younger brother sitting close to her has the CBD of knowledge. He wants to learn. His position is symbolic in the sense that He acknowledges his sister and he sits close to her while listening very carefully to what grandma is saying. Now, the insipidity on this guy, this boy here, he's distracted. He is looking somewhere else. He's looking into the flame, thinking about wealth. He just wants to be successful. You can't blame him. Most of us are in that state too. And we have the three symbolic insidies here: love, happiness. Yeah. Okay, this is happiness, peace, and love. Peace, love, and happiness. This setting has these three insidies coexisting together. Now, the announces spider is a scary one, but you know, wherever you see wisdom, there's always something waiting to snatch it away. I feel that's why the spider is here, because my placement is very strategic. It's right on top of what grandma is saying. So I'm very sure it's snatching away what grandma is saying from getting to this guy. But because these two are paying close attention, the spider can't snatch it away. My use of colors is influenced by Basquiat. You know, I loved how he uses colors. So I decided to use the colors. It's a blend between realism, abstract. So I'll call it more like semi-abstract because you can tell what the figures are. You can tell this is a girl, this is a guy, a young kid, grandma. You can tell the pyramids. But the background is so colorful. It looks chaotic in a way, but it all blends in to give it that aesthetic look. Man, thank you, Square Root Studio, for having me. Honestly, this gave me joy. You know, I love taxing myself, and when the opportunity came, I was grateful. You know, I'm extremely grateful to the team of guys I worked with, my videographers, my photographers, my studio assistant too. You know, this was a wonderful experience. I didn't even want to take a break because I was enjoying myself. Thank you so much, guys, and I wish to do more of this with you guys.